Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Friday, November 8th. Friday. It's a weekend. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I don't like when they change the clocks. Like, just this, the last time they did it, and now it's like 5 o'clock. It's starting to get dark. I wish they'd stop doing that. I just think it's ridiculous. I don't know why they're still doing that. Anyway, I don't like it. All right, we had it was a great week. Trump elected, market shot up, all-time record highs, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. Let's break down the fiscal flows. Right now, leading spending flows are up like 63 billion over last year. Remember, we just finished like the first month of the fiscal year 2025. And that 63 billion year over year, that's just kind of deceptive because there was a calendar issue at the start of fiscal year 2024 where the first of the month payments, those big payments, they happened at the end of September instead of October 1st. So they actually happened in fiscal year 2023. So it makes that gap 63 billion. It's not really 63 billion. When you adjust for that, you got to subtract out 55 billion, and it's like 8 billion. It's up 8 billion over last year. So we could basically say that spending is flat over last year, but it's still very strong. Okay, we came in last year with like 7.16 trillion or something like that. So we flatlined. And that, to me, that says the monetary environment is still very positive for risk assets. All right? That's number one that I want to say. Number two, which is really number one, because this is what I've been talking about now for months, the Fed rate cuts, which we just got another one this week. You got to be looking at these interest income transfers because, as I've been telling you guys, this has been the main driving force behind the growth in the economy for a while now. I mean, we've had this year over $1 trillion in net interest income transfers, and I've said this a number of times. Even with that massive, and it's funny because the media and economists, they're all like, oh my God, the government has to pay $1 trillion plus. It's more than the defense budget. Oh my God. They don't, the way they express it, the way they talk about it, they always talk about it like it's some big, horrible burden. They don't talk about it in terms of who's getting that money? The economy is getting that money, all right? That's how I would talk about it. That's how I do talk about it when I talk to you guys. But if I was, on the news or whatever, which I don't do anymore, because I got sick of going on those shows. I was with Fox News for 10 years, debating against imbeciles. I gave it up. So They see the trillion in interest, but to them it's this horrible, terrible burden that's like gonna be some kind of time bomb or something like that. And in reality, that's been fueling, if you want to use the swimming pool analogy, because of the Fed rate hikes over the last 2 years, it's like you had the water being pumped into the pool from regular government spending, and all of a sudden, the freaking fire department comes along and hooks up their hose and puts it into the pool. Extra. All right? But even with that, the pool is having a hard time staying at a nice high level. It's kind of like, if you take away that fire hose, that pool is going to drain right down. You see what I'm saying? So I'm looking at these, to me, the key thing here, like sometimes you got to be a detective and you got to look for, what are the clues? What are the things I should be looking at? You know, for me personally, I don't look at all the government data because that's like 30 days old. It's a last quarter or whatever. I look at the things that drive what the government data eventually is going to show. And that's these fiscal flows. Remember, I always say that the fiscal, that's the first derivative of all economic activity. Everything hinges off of that. Everything. Bank loans, everything, okay? So I'm watching that, and right now, interest income transfers, they are down year over year, but not by a lot. Not by a lot. Okay, so we got to give it a little bit more time. I mean, it is going in the right direction. I would tell you guys if I was wrong, if it started to go up, if I saw interest income transfers going up, or if I saw overall leading spending flows going up, okay, right now they're only 8 billion. It's nothing, okay? It's almost like a rounding error. But it might start to trend up if those interest income transfers trend up because, you know, somebody might say to me, well, Mike, you still got a lot of the longer dated maturities that are going to, you know, longer dated securities that are going to mature. And, you know, they're going to mature even if the rate is 4.5%. That's a lot higher than when they were issued. When they roll over. When they mature and they're going to roll over at a higher rate. So, yeah, I mean, that is a very true statement. So I'm watching it. And I'm here to tell you that right now it's dropping. It's not a big drop. It really reflects only one rate cut right now. We're going to start to get into the 2 rate cut impact, because that just happened, all right? And I know you guys, you know, you want to see things like this. It's got to happen like this, like right now, it's got to happen. I can't make it happen like that. I'm sorry, that's not my process. You know, I've spoken about process before, like, you got to have a process. I did a whole big thing on the Navy SEALs. How do these guys get through buds? They have a process. They break it down. I have a process. I have to stick to, you know, my analytical framework. And I can't rush it along. That's not, you know, my analytical framework. I know you guys, you know, you want it like that. And I can only provide it as it evolves, okay? What I try to do is I'm not saying it's got to hit this number. I'm saying I want to see the trend. Even if the trend is gradual in my favor, I feel more confident and I could double down, triple down on my position. As long as I see that thing trending in my favor, I become much more confident. And I go in big, bigger, biggest, bigly. So that's where we are right now. I don't know, what can I add to this? Gold had a down week, silver had a down week. I just went over the CFTC commitments now the commitments were for the week ending November 5th, so that was on Tuesday. So it didn't cover Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, we had a big drop. When was that big drop in gold? It was Thursday, right? So commitments didn't show that, but producers were buyers, basically on short covering. They weren't like putting in new long positions. They were basically short covering, so they were net buyers. And the same thing with silver. Producers were short covering. They were net buyers. In oil, producers were net sellers on liquidation. They were just liquidating longs. Okay, it wasn't like they were adding shorts or anything like that. And they did that when prices jumped up to like 72. You know, I've been saying, like, every time it gets up there, they're selling. And every time it gets down to like 67, 66, they're buying. I mean, we've been in this range now for a while. And you know who's buying at the 66? level, 67, 66. That's the government filling up the SPR, filling up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And they got a long way to go, okay? So they're going to be buyers all the way down. Like right now, they're supporting the price around $66, $67 a barrel basis WTI, West Texas Intermediate. So I keep telling people, like, you could play that range, you know, like you buy down in the 60 handle, you sell in 71, 72. You could trade that all day long. All right? I mean, that's just the range we're in, and you got producers selling, but they're still net long. You got the government buying down there and producers. They know. I think I've speculated, or I've thought about why producers have been net long basically since May 2023. I mean, what's that? They're long for they've been net long futures, oil futures, for 17 months. I've never seen a streak like that before on the producer side. And to me, they're net long because they know that SPR has to be refilled. And they're hedging, they're long hedging based on the fact that, you know, the government's going to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So, what else? Trump said he's going to go hard on Iran, really hard on Iran. So that could impact global oil supply if Iranian output is cut. But we don't know. You know, OPEC could fill the gap. The OPEC Plus group, which is OPEC plus Russia, could fill the gap. U.S. production, which I think is kind of maxed out, even though Trump said drill, baby, drill. We're doing 13.5 million barrels a day. We are the largest, by far, oil producer. You know, we export a lot. But 13.5 million barrels a day. I mean, you know, like, we're way above Saudi Arabia and Russia. So I'm not sure, like, I mean, maybe, but I'm not sure what additional output he can bring to bear with the drill, baby, drill. But we'll see. You know, the numbers come out every week. We see if there are sanctions or something on Iran. That's the beauty. I always say to you guys, they tell us what they're going to do. And then it's a question of just understanding. All right, speaking of understanding, or lack thereof, let me say this. And, you know, I mean, every day I have a freaking chest full of examples of these things that it's like fucking unbelievable. Larry Kudlow, most of you probably know who Larry Kudlow is. He's over at Fox Business. He's not really an economist. He doesn't have a degree in economics. Not that that means anything, because mainstream economics is totally useless. But he poses as an economist anyway. And I saw him on an interview where he was asked, like, what about the Fed rate cut? He was asked to give his view on the recent Fed rate cut. And he was like, I'm kind of baffled. That's him talking. I'm baffled because I don't know why they would need to pump more money into the economy. And I'm thinking to myself, pump more money into the economy. I mean, a rate cut reduces those interests. You can literally look at any graph from the Fed or any economics outlook, and you will see the drop in money being pumped into the economy via that interest channel. I mean, it's there. What amazes me about, and also, like, when the Fed was raising, and these are the same people, folks, these are the same people, and I'm sure Kudlow has said something along these lines. I don't know, because I don't really watch him, but I'm sure he's also said something about, oh my God, all this interest that the government has to pay. How does the government have to pay? Because the Fed raised the interest rate. But he's saying, oh, the cuts are adding money to the economy. How is It's the opposite. You could see the freaking numbers, Larry. You could see the freaking numbers going down. It's not adding money. I mean, you know something? The whole thing is like some crazy circus when you think about it. You got these people who are paraded around like experts in their field, who know nothing, who say things that are exactly wrong or opposite, of what they're trying to prove or say. It's not like the numbers are hidden or, we don't know, we're speculating, we think it does this, but we're not sure. They're right there. The numbers are right there in front of their faces. And the arrogance, see, that's what gets me, the arrogance, because if you try to argue with them, if you try to explain it to them, I mean, they'll just jump all over you, man. Like, who do you think you're talking to? I'm Larry Kudlow. Who are you? Mike Norman? By the way, let me just tell you, I was on his show one time years ago. And, I was on his show on CNBC. And we got into a conversation, something about, and then I mentioned, government spending, fiscal, and he's like, then he says, oh, that's the Keynesian stuff. That doesn't work. He just dismissed it. And I said, it works pretty good for the defense sector. I mean, all you have to do is ask one of those defense contractor CEOs or the big shareholders of defense industry like BlackRock. Works pretty good for them. Huh? Dismissed it. Because it wasn't his story. It wasn't in his mythology. So, I'm Larry Kudlow. You don't know what you're talking about. It's really wild, man. It's wild. So yeah, that's it. I had a good boxing session today. I sparred with a kid, 22 years old. He came in. And the coach was like, oh, this kid's good. You're going to spar with him later. And I got a little bit nervous because he was young. He looked pretty good. He was hitting bags. He was moving around. He did some rope. I can't do rope. I can't do rope. He looked pretty good. But I'll spar whoever. I'm not afraid, And so I was working out on the bags, getting loose, getting warmed up. And then he's like, okay, Mike, go ahead. And I got in the ring with that kid. And I did good, man. I did good. And the kid said to me, how old are you? I said, I'm 67, man. He said, impressive. So I felt really good today. Listen, when I suck at sparring, I don't mind getting really beat. But like, if I think there's somebody kind of like on my level or maybe even lower than my level, and I'm useless against that person, like they're evading me, they're getting me with counter punches, I'm incapable of doing anything, that wrecks my whole day. I know it shouldn't, but that wrecks my whole entire day. When I do good, like today, I feel great. And there's one guy who I spar with pretty regularly. His name is Pierre. And he's very twitchy, man. He's very twitchy. I have a hard time with this guy. I'd say he's on my level, but I have a very hard time with this guy. And it's just frustrating as hell. But, that's the game. What can I tell you? Anyway, tomorrow's Saturday. I'm going to a gun show. Guns are my hobby now. I got 3. I want to get into collecting, like more on the rare side. And hopefully I'll find something. If any of you are into this type of thing as recreation, guns or collecting, Leave some comments. If you have any interesting pieces, I'd love to know about it. Anyway, that's it for today. Please like and subscribe if you've done that already. Thank you very much. And don't forget, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. Let me just say this, and I said this already several times. It's going to be a wild, wild next 2 to 4 years with Trump. A lot of policy shifts, like tectonic policy shifts. So you're going to want to know how to play this as we enter into a new era. Fiscally, monetarist-wise, but mainly fiscal, trade-wise, stuff like that. It's gonna be wild, man. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, have a great weekend. Bye.